his thing was, if there's one reason not to take a trade, I'm not going to take a trade. Okay. And I remember when I was starting off, it was like, if there was a reason for me to take a trade, I would take the trade. It's exactly the opposite, right? And so it was good to learn a little bit from it. And so the quote here is, there will always be another bus.
Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US-based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. My trading experience includes trading stocks, options, crypto, and futures, with both trading a personal account as well as with prop funding companies. Over time, I found that I most enjoy the fast-paced world of intraday futures trading, so that is my primary day trading focus now. Thank you for joining me on the Market Mamas podcast today. You guys, I have my very good friend Peter Koo back with us today, and we talk trading literally all the time. You know this now if you follow Market Mamas, because we have some other work out there on the channel that you guys are going to want to make sure you catch up on, because we kind of get into all aspects of trading. But Peter had the excellent idea of pulling in some of the best words of wisdom that he has found that really spoke to him along his trading journey. And I think that this could be a really good conversation and just really open the door to what others that have gone before us, what their words of wisdom are and how we hear them and how it colors our view of our trading journey. So, Peter, I'm so glad to have you back with me today. I can't wait to hear what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Becky. I wanted to, I've gathered quotes, from people who are in the markets, people who are successful investors, and some of them really spoke to me, and I wanted to share that with you and your listeners today. And many of them come today. They come from an unusual source of inspiration for a day trader, right? So a lot of the quotes I'm going to share today come from, believe it or not, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And if they knew that I was using their wisdom for day trading, right, I think they would be appalled. But here we are.
They are wonderful wizards of the market that have come before us and are still in this game for a reason. Traders or investors that are still in this game after decades should be listened to, in my opinion. So let's do it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. He says, and you could give me some comments on this one. Is that risk comes from not knowing what you're doing, right? And this goes to a topic that you and I talked about in our last podcast, which is, don't share the fact that you're trading with anyone, because people are going to say, quite frankly, really stupid things, right, that you really don't need. And preserving one's psychology is very important, and doing this relationship hygiene is very important. And that's just all part of managing one's psychology. But risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Nothing could be truer in day trading than that. The thing about day trading is, by the end of the trading session, you have feedback. You have harsh, brutal, real feedback, right? Mm-hmm. Right. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely love that quote. And that literally plays off exactly what I just said about understanding market context and studying your market and figuring out the why behind your trading setups and what causes them and what creates them, because that allows you to effectively manage your risk and to have a tight risk because you got a tight entry because you knew what you were anticipating based on studying. And so prime example of you would take on extra risk if you just don't understand. And so absolutely, show up and do the work. That's an excellent quote.
Yeah. Here's another one for you. This was a quote I took from Charlie Munger, who was Warren Buffett's partner, and they were talking to a group. This was a Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting, right? And there were two quotes that are kind of sort of back to back. One is Charlie Munger said, "You don't have to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results." And that struck me in day trading, because I think people who start, the beginners, that they want to have these very exotic things that they do. They look at, Fibonacci or Bollinger Bands or, all whatever the stochastic indicators or stuff that you and I used to spend all of our time, studying, right?
Cross.
And they took over and over and over again, and they try and put them all together, and you have these moving averages that are all over the place, and in the end they don't matter, right? Because it doesn't have to be that complicated. Break structure retest is pretty easy, right? And then the other thing that they said that is a correlate to that is, yeah, you only have to do very few things right in your life, as long as you don't do too many things wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And those kind of go a little bit hand in hand, but I wanted to, just run that, I have a couple of more that are kind of interesting, but this is I wanted to share that with your readers. You have any thoughts on those two quotes?
Those are so on point, and I think they play really nicely with the whole just keep it simple. Like,
Yeah.
the more you overthink it and you worry about this and this and that, like, what is your core trading system? Like,
Right.
what level's holding? Who is in control? Bears or buy, or bears or bulls, and what would that look like? And I think it's so easy to overcomplicate it and worry about dumb shit and not focus on your process. And so I think that really speaks very highly to, like, just keep it simple and do a consistent, steady process and manage your risk. And like you said, it sounds so easy, and it is hard in practice, but it's correct. If we can just dial it down.
Right. And, we don't talk about, numbers here, very much, but the next quote is that it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And you and I have talked about this in our psychology discussion last week with Jermaine, or the week before, um, really the way that we trade, right? Like $200 a day, right, equates to, if you do a copier on multiple accounts, that's, it's $20,000 a month, right? And for most people, I don't know anybody's financial situation. It's none of my business, right? But for a lot of people who trade, and a lot of people in our community, like that that can be transformative, right?
Yes.
And among other things, for some people, particularly now, as uncertain as the employment market can be, right? I mean, it allows, people, some people, depending on who you're, at least a step away from their day jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And considering that we're on the charts for an hour and a half a day, um, 20 grand a month it's not bad, right? It's not bad, right? So, like I said, we don't talk about, but it's very unhealthy to talk about money for all kinds of reasons that we know about. But, the quote is, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And
Yeah.
for us, our marathon it's at the end of the month, right? What happens at the end of the month, not what happens today, right? Today can be red, right? And, all right, tomorrow's another day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another quote right there, is that small losses get you paid, because your ability to respect the fact that one day doesn't have to be a game changer in any great extreme. And then, every once in a while you will see a home run and you'll take like really good points for you. And then all the other like more average days, you just need to like lock it in and manage your risk, be a risk manager first and foremost. And then that enables you to sustain through the marathon, right? Like if someone jumps out at the start of a marathon and just runs their fastest damn mile ever, it's gonna be a hard slog to get through that marathon. But if you just pace yourself and respect the fact that you need to have little bits of sugar in your system and hydrate, and like don't push too hard too fast in the beginning, like the analogy is really good for trading, because respect the process and let it take time. That was a quote from my trainer Amy, is let it take time. And that, she was speaking to a fitness journey of like, you're not going to lose all your weight and tone up in 1 week of working out. Like it's going to take years, but that's good. That's sustainable. You're changing your habits and who you are as a person, and you're letting it take time, and it's going to hold longer that way. And that I think is so applicable to day trading, and exactly what you just said of let it take time, run your marathon. You're not trying to be a day trader for this month like it's some fad. At least Peter and I are not. We are trying to be day traders for the rest of our life and change our family's financial situation so that we can see the market so good and just execute for an hour in the morning and then go about our beautiful days with that financial freedom. But you can't get to that level of expertise by rushing it.
Right. My doctor told me that for the body to adjust to a set point in weight, it takes 2 years, right? So someone, let's say, loses 20 pounds, it's 2 years before the body gets used to that weight. And it keeps wanting to go back to the old weight for 2 years, right? It's one of the reasons why, fad diets are not effective in the longer run, right? Yeah,
Makes sense.
And this next one is kind of we've already talked about it. So there's only really 2 rules, right? Rule number 1, take small, not big losses. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Yeah.
You know what? Every expert says some version of this because it's the damn truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Don't
keep your
take
losses
catastrophic
small because
losses.
you have to be a risk manager or you cannot have the fat wins. You can't have the wiggle room in your accounts to sustain it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the very last quote I have is an interesting. Is one that it took me a while. I think it goes to kind of a mindset, that the markets will always be there, that there will always be trades. When I was, first thing I said, oh, I see that, I should get in, right? And now it's like, it's the notion that, there was a guy in our community way back who was really good. He's no longer there, but I remember speaking to him. We developed kind of a friendship, and his thing was, if there's one reason not to take a trade, I'm not going to take a trade. Okay. And I remember when I was starting off, it was that if there was a reason for me to take a trade, I would take the trade. It's exactly the opposite, right? And so it was good to learn a little bit from it. And so the quote here is, there will always be another bus.
Yeah.
Right. There will always be another bus, with the notion that, hey, it's like the perfect pitch kind of analogy. I think this is what, Buffett and Charlie Munger said. Look, baseball analogy. I'm sure if I played the game of baseball and I don't have to swing at anything, I can take a million balls or a million, whatever, like I don't have, and even if it's a perfect pitch, I still don't have to swing at it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can just wait until I swing at one that I want to swing at. Okay. I don't care. I can't get struck out. I can just stand there and just wait.
Yes.
Right. There'll always be another bus, and I think it goes to kind of our abundance, a bit of an abundance mindset, right? Right. I don't have to take this right now, even if I miss it. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
What
exactly
are
what I
your
was
thoughts on
thinking of.
that? Huh?
That's exactly what I was thinking when you talked about that, is the abundance versus scarcity mindset. And I think that has been transformative for me in my trading journey, because this, I have always liked to be an opening bell trader. I liked volatility. I have studied it. I have traded it for years, and I am pretty good at it.
You
And
are.
so for a while there, though, I was more taking stabs in the dark, and I hadn't fully dialed in my process. And I would feel like I remember this period probably about 2 years ago where I just wanted to lock in a win, to like make myself feel like I was a good trader and I could see it and I was a great trader. And I was an opening bell trader. Right. And so when I wanted to like force that, I just wanted the first trade so bad that that's the wrong intention, right? I wanted to get the first trade. I didn't want to see a great setup and capitalize on it. And so that would often lead to big losses because the volatility is very heavy at the opening of New York session. And now that is not at all my approach of like, I want to get an early trade and locked in, and so that I can move about my day and be a good trader, right? Now I want to wait until I see a setup that I understand and the risks that I can manage. And that has been a total change in how I have.
Game changer, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a total different. It's a respect for the process and knowing that I will see a setup. I've been a trader too long now, and I understand too much to think that I'm not going to find something in the first hour. And so by respecting the fact that I have put in the long, hard work to have this understanding that I do have of the market, that now I need to fully capitalize that. And what that looks like is to be patient and let a setup happen and recognize that this market is abundant. And if the bus leaves without me, and that was one of my potential setups, don't chase the bus. Like,
Chase the bus.
wait
Right?
for the next one. Chill at the bus stop. Pull out your phone and play a game for 5 minutes.
Right.
There's another bus.
There's another bus, right? Yeah, there's always another bus, right? It may not be right now, and it may not even be today, but there will be another bus.
Yeah. Right? Walk your dog, potty train your toddler, do something. This is where we're at.
Those are my quotes, Becky.
That's so good. Peter, I'm going to do a Learning from Legends, as you know, a new series within Market Mamas that I started. The first one was Paul Tudor Jones. A couple of weeks ago it came out, and Warren Buffett is on the short list that I have to do. And like I have investments, but I am a day trader, right? But I completely agree with you that there is so much wisdom from that man. And then, if you're any part of the financial or trading world, I think it's applicable. You can pull that into what you're doing. So I really appreciate those quotes that you shared today. They're really good.
Yeah. They're powerful for me. I keep them up. I read them. I mull on them.
Yeah.
We like Berkshire Hathaway as a long-term investment. I'm a day trader, but as I told you, for us, it's like investments are put in three buckets, right? Like S&P 500, index fund, Berkshire Hathaway, right?
Yeah.
That's one bucket. Real estate is another bucket, and then day trading, right? And
Perfect.
most of my attention energy is in the day trading bucket, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, so I'm a
Well,
big fan of Warren Buffett, for all kinds of reasons. So
same. And I do the same with sticky notes in my office along my monitors. And I
right, right,
actually have found that if I leave them up too long, then they almost start to blend in. So I like to, a couple spots, I'll change them out.
yeah,
And, I just want to do a last little nod to Jermaine, because one that I added a month or two ago from him was the saying that now we all say in our community is, what a pleasure. Right. And
yeah,
that is just goes to the fact that, like, this life, this opportunity, this day trading potential that we have, especially when you're with a community that really kind of understands it and can lend so much to how we see it and the potential that we have. Like,
yes,
it's an incredible time to be a trader and to have this potential at our fingertips. And I really enjoy the experience of gratitude and appreciation and enjoying each day, because I mean, no day is guaranteed. Bad things happen in life to good people. That's just the reality of humanity. And so
yeah. Wow.
that really spoke to me when Jermaine told us that. And I really have said it every day of my life, whether it's with trading or my family or whatever have you in my life, to choose to be grateful and excited. And what a pleasure all of this opportunity is, even if it's stressful or you're taking a less than day. What a
Yeah.
pleasure it is to have this life.
And it's interesting because I've had a number of friends now who have contacted me who have expressed an interest in this because, again, I'm not making a political statement, but we're living in very uncertain times. Okay, people's jobs are often at risk, right? And my heart breaks, right? Because if you're in a position where you have to, you have a young family, for instance, and you have to pay your mortgage, and and your company, over which one may not have necessarily a lot of control, is either acting randomly, or is not in a good place, right? Like, people can be financially at risk very, very quickly, right? And for us to be able to do what we do, for an hour, hour and a half a day, and be able to say, hey, I can do my $200 a day, which equates to this, is such a blessing. Such a blessing, right? And the friends who have contacted me or who I've spoken to, and you'll see a couple of them. They'll be joining the community pretty soon. If Jermaine is agreeable to letting them join, are just wonderful, wonderful people, right? And this is so important to folks. Like, it's such a, not only the blessing that we can do it, but it's such a blessing. I know you do a lot of this, just be able to share this with others. You do it with Market Mamas. You're very much your mentor to so many people in the community, including me. And, I just feel really lucky, that we have our community and we have these skills that we've built with the idea that, one thing for your listeners, if they are, I would say, and you say, and everybody says is, it takes time, you know, like I can teach my daughter's learning to trade, and I'm like, sweetie, I can teach you to put on a bracket order and buy or sell in a few hours, right? I can teach you to set up charts, in a few hours, but then learning to trade, that takes time. And in fact, what I say is, look, you should think that you're getting a master's degree or a PhD. It takes years to get to the point where you can be, consistently profitable, and that's okay, because it's a skill you'll have the rest of your life, right?
Yeah. And it's a potential to be highly, a high income bracket if you are a successful trader. And so
Yeah,
respect the fact that that's a lot to learn in order to be able to trade those kind of numbers. And so
right,
that
right.
as well, years.
I went to a seminar with that's the best loser win guys, Tom Hugard, right? He's hilarious, right? And he's like, he's very open, right? He's like, yeah, he goes, I make as much as every year I make as much as a professional football player. Okay, now not the Tom Brady's of the world, but he says, these guys, they, it's you know it's seven figures a year, usually between 2 and 10, and he goes, that's fine, but he goes, but the professional football player, right? NFL, I love football, by the way. NFL, right, stands for not for long, right? You got an average 3.5 year lifespan as a professional football player. He goes, you look at it and he goes, I'm much older than that. I'm still doing this, right? So be able to do this is kind of is a real blessing.
Yeah. Plus, I think just the element of learning to be a trader is going to keep our minds sharp later into life, because we are embracing being lifelong learners in order to be as successful as we are, and to know that we're going to continue to be that way. And that will just, keep there's so much science behind that, right? Use your brain and you will keep growing and doing better.
And you have to, right? Even as we've just discussed, these last few weeks have been very different from the last 2 years, right? And so you and I, we've had to adapt. So another thing for people who are listening is that if you want to learn, it's really important to find a good trading community. Doing it by yourself, it can be very lonesome, right? Activity, and trying to figure this out by oneself is very, very hard. It's very hard even with a good community and a good teacher. Trying to solo it, I think, is hard, right?
Yeah. And to that point, to anyone who is still here towards the end of an episode, but reach out to someone. Like, trading can actually be really hard, and there can be scary days when you take really hard losses, and they can really, I have really experienced heart pain from feeling so bad about myself from something that I did on the charts. And that's a really difficult emotion. So I definitely would encourage everyone to find at least one or two people, if not a good community, or even within a good community, a couple people that you can directly talk to in those moments, because people who aren't traders don't understand it as much and can put so much external judgment on that is really not helpful when you're in that place. And so if traders get to that place, I've been there and I feel for you, and please reach out to someone and take care of yourself too, because trading is something that you do, but our value is outside of who we are as a trader. So, I respect the hard points of this journey for sure.
Absolutely. All right.
Woo! We gave a lot of talking today. I hope that everyone really found value in this conversation and kind of sees why Peter and I want to put out just our conversations to you guys, because it's enjoyable to talk to other people who understand trading, and we can share wisdom and grow together. So thank you, Peter, so much for your time.
Thank you, Becky.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, happy trading and take care. Bye.
Mm-hmm.